Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. The League does, however, take positions on issues. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on policy issues, and as a result of our discussions, we hope you will feel ready to make informed decisions at election time. I'm Linda Duckworth, former president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, and your host for today's program. Today we are talking to our friends from the University of Nebraska, Omaha about an academic study done in collaboration with the UNO Service Learning Academy and our league. So, as well as Professor Brusky's statistics class. I'm going to try that again. Statistics. That's
there,
the word.
You got it.
That's right. So joining us today is Anastasia Nicholson. She's a student at UNO and she worked on the study. And then our professor, Becky Brusky. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's great to see you again. So to begin, we could start in a couple of different ways. I want to talk about service learning, I think, first of all. But I also want to talk to both of you about what your positions are. Maybe before we get started with Service Learning Academy, you'll tell me a little bit about yourself, Professor Brusky, which, you know, we've gotten to know each other. I'm going to go ahead and call you Becky, right?
Please do.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
It's kind of an informal setting.
Right. So tell us about yourself as a professor at UNO and service learning and all that.
Well, I have been at UNO for about 5 years. And before that, I was in industry as a data scientist. And UNO recruited me in really to create one of the classes I created was the one that we're going to talk about today. And it's for non-math students, and it's within the statistics. And it's called Data Literacy and Visualization. And I think it's my pet class. I love it so much. And really every subject that a student studies, there's data, and it's how to visualize it and get as much use and knowledge and predictions from the set of data.
Very interesting. And Anastasia, tell us about what you're studying and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so I'm majoring in gerontology, which is the study of aging, and I'm minoring in psychology and medical humanities. And of course, all of those fields require a lot of statistical analysis.
Yes.
And I was really interested in Becky's class because it felt more approachable than a lot of other math classes that you can get at a college campus, because I liked the focus on data. That's kind of what's interesting to me, and that's what kind of felt practical and applicable to what I was learning in my sort of chosen field of study. Yeah. So that's kind of how I ended up there, and I really enjoyed the class. And I didn't really know exactly what to expect when I signed up. I didn't know actually that it was a Academy Service Learning class, but I ended up really enjoying it, and it was a great experience.
That's great. That's interesting to me that I wasn't sure how it works for students when they sign up for a class. And I wanted to ask you, have you taken other classes that were connected with service learning?
I have not, actually. This was my first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, I was thinking that students sign up and it says it's got a service learning component, and yet I think some of them they don't actually. Did they have your students early? Did they have the option?
It should say that there is a service learning component.
I think there was.
I think it's kind of like hidden in the details,
Uh-huh.
and students are just, is this enough credits? Will it get?
Right,
Will it check
sure.
the box that I need?
Yeah.
So.
And then they're a little surprised,
Yes.
but it ends up that they're pleasantly surprised, and I think that's because it turns out that they're actually helping real organizations, real people in the community. And so, yes, you were really helpful to us, and we were very excited. In fact, maybe this is a perfectly good time to sing the praises of the Service Learning Academy, which has been around for more than, I think we decided at least 25 years.
At least 25 years.
There was a celebration a couple of years ago. So I want to share something that two of my co-members, my former co-president, Cindy Glissman, said this. Cindy and I and Jean Miller we went to two different times with your class. The first time to see what they had done, and then but to offer or to ask for, maybe changes here and there, or telling you guys that there was a little something else that we wanted to know, and could you put that in there too? And then you came back. Was it 6 weeks later, something like that? And then you gave us the final projects, which kind of blew us away. They were pretty great. So I asked both of them to share what they thought of all this, and Cindy said, "I appreciated each group's in-depth perspectives on the same data set." So that's right. You had the same information, but really different, 4 different, attacks, sort of. Their concise reporting methods and excellent presentations were key to our being able to use this data to improve our processes. It is always a win-win-win opportunity when the League can work with the Service Learning Center and UNO students and professors. And then she said, one thing I did not expect, to me it was over and above, was to get the analyses by type of race. So for instance, state legislature, NRD, city office, by year, by response, by elected or lost. It was just a lot of information. It really was so impressive. And then Jean said, I appreciated the different perspectives from which the groups came at the data and the passion with which the students approached the assignment. And so anyway, let's applaud. Let's go ahead and applaud you guys, okay? Yeah. So I also want you to sort of maybe, Becky, if you could kind of walk us through the general process of conducting this data collection.
Sure.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
And it was easier for us because this was our second time we'd worked together.
That's right.
And so that's always wonderful when we work with community partners again. But usually about 6 months to a year out, I start, every time I meet somebody, I'm like, oh, you're a nonprofit, do you have data?
Of course, and the answer is of course, yeah.
I think that's how we met, do you have data? And you're like, well, yes, we do. And so then we just start talking about what does the community partner need? Because I don't want these to be projects where, oh, here's some data, just do what you want with it. It really has to have meaning. Just like with League of Women Voters, you really needed some analysis for how the responses are working so that you can get more responses for your voters guide. And so we do that, and then closer to the semester where we're going to implement it, we start meeting maybe two times a month, and then we get the data and we look at it. And I also have GTA that works with me. And
GTA?
A graduate teaching assistant.
Okay, gotcha.
So I have like somebody who is getting their master's in data science.
Right, that's right.
Through the mathematical and statistical department.
Yeah.
Yep. And
great experience for that person too.
Oh, it is. It is, because Colleen, who is my current GTA, helped put together what is now live for League of Women Voters.
Cool.
And he's like, it's the first time I've put something together that more than my instructor will look at. And so that's always pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after that, we have the community partner come into the classroom and they talk about their organization and they give the set of data. And then through email, the students ask questions. And then, like you said, we bring the community partner back in for that shoulder to shoulder, like, look, like this is what we've got so far. Is it what you want? Are we making assumptions that aren't true? Help us here. And then we had the community partner come back for the formal, really capstone
celebratory.
presentation. It is a celebration.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And the students always do such a wonderful job.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, and you mentioned our voters guide. I should let our viewers know that what this was all about was our voters guide, which we've had for, we've been putting together a voters guide for, I think it's more than 70 years here in Omaha. So a long time. Right, and it's of course changed over the years. More now, it is printed somewhat, but it's definitely online with Vote411.org is where most people access it now. But we did have this problem of not enough candidates contributing their answers. So we ask questions, we ask really good questions. We work very hard to come up with these questions. So we want the candidates to answer them, and voters want the candidates to answer them too. This is, we hear from so many people that say, oh, I've been using your voter's guide for years, or I can't vote without it, or that sort of thing. And yesterday when we had our legislative action day at the Capitol, another member and I we talked to 4 different senators, and one of them, who is an Omaha senator, said, oh, your voter's guide, I've got a stack of them from years, and years in my basement. And so I said, well, then you must have started when you were a child. And he said, yes, I did. Which I thought was hilarious. But anyway, so the more candidates we can get to answer the questions, obviously, the better, because it helps people to know, have some idea of where they stand on issues and what's important to them. And then this project specifically, well, we talked about that, how we actually were at that service learning celebrations. I think it was celebrating the 25th anniversary, and that's where we got to talking. But also, service learning does do a showcase at least once a year, I think, maybe a couple of times a year. And so that's another chance to, to find people, maybe. So Anastasia, I want to ask you, what parts of the project interested you the most?
Like I said, I wasn't exactly sure what I was signing up for when I first signed up for the class. And so when I first heard that we were working with League of Women Voters, I was like, oh, this feels kind of high stakes, right? And it feels high stakes because I'm making actual contributions to the community. And that's always something that I strive to do. But I don't always really get the opportunity just plopped into my lap. So I was looking forward to it, and I felt, a lot of motivation to do well for the community and for you guys. And within the project, I really enjoyed just learning how to work with Tableau in general. That was the, what do you call it essentially?
It was a software package.
Yeah, the software package we use to create our visualizations of the data set that you
are
gave us.
beautiful, I have to say, yes.
Yeah, my team and I, we worked on them quite a bit, and we were really proud of our finished product, and we really enjoyed presenting that to you guys. And some specific ways in which we visualized the data that I was especially proud of was what you mentioned, actually, was the visualization that we did by office, where we looked at all the different offices over the years, and like how people respond depending by office, and how response rate can affect whether you get elected. That was something that our team looked at that was kind of unique to our presentation, and I really enjoyed that visualization we made. Yeah.
And you did make a connection between response rate and actually getting elected, and so that was pretty great. And that wasn't so much in the top of the ballot offices. It was like what we call the down ballot offices, so such as NRD and MUD and OPPD and probably state legislator to a point, and
a lot of educational
that's right,
boards.
like the school boards, and then so those that, so many offices that voters don't think about much, and I find this a lot as a league member. I'll say I'm a member of the league, and they go, oh, that's right, and they immediately start talking about the presidential race.
Yes.
It's like, well,
that's what we do.
Yes, right, but for us on the local level and the state level, we'd much rather talk about local issues and state issues and those candidates, and so it behooves them to. So it's really good. We were hoping that it made a difference. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way, but we were secretly pleased that participating kind of helps your chances somewhat.
It does.
Apparently.
It does depend somewhat by office, but with the smaller local elections, especially like county commissioner and some of the other ones you mentioned, there was a pretty visible difference. And the main reason for that is probably because with small elections like that, that's how you're
Yeah.
going to get yourself out there, is by
Right.
talking to the league.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
there aren't a bunch of news stations like itching for your attentions. They're not going to, post you all over Washington Post. That's
Right.
like,
Just not even going to make the World Herald. Well, yes, you will make the World Herald, maybe, but yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Actually, I think this is a perfectly fine time to mention, I've heard a rumor that the World Herald may not have all these local candidates in detail as they have in the past. So we might be,
You are the
I don't want to say we're
place
the
to
only
go.
game in town, but yeah. So I think people should know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about Tableau, this online data visualization tool, and is it available to all students?
Yes, so Tableau it's a wonderful product for visualizing, and businesses can purchase it. And Tableau itself, if you have a .edu or an education address, students can get a free version of it. And for the one that we used in the class, we actually got we had a 40-person license from Tableau for free because we're teaching the class. So we're just really grateful for Tableau for allowing students to use it, because the subscription per year is in the thousands.
Yeah.
So it's just a
That's great.
wonderful thing that students get to
Yeah.
use it for free.
Yeah, that is. That's such a great experience.
Yeah, it's a unique opportunity.
Yeah. Do you see using it in your future career?
Definitely, yeah. I have various ideas about what I'd like to do in the future in terms of a career, but one of my ideas would be going into sort of a research position. You can actually go and get your gerontology PhD after getting your bachelor's. You don't need a master's in between.
Cool.
And so some students do decide to do that, and then they do a lot of scientific research, and obviously that requires an immense amount of data analysis. So yeah, it really equipped me with a lot of fantastic skills. And even if I don't go into a super research heavy field, it's still that knowledge I got from that class will help me with all different kinds of job positions and even just navigating everyday life, because so many of your decisions about you making your life are based on data, and being able to actually understand it properly is so important. So
Are you saying that because you took the class, that just kind of changed how you are able to look at decisions and
Yeah.
just
yeah.
in other words, it changed your life? Okay.
Yes, and one of the first things that Professor Brusky taught us was, what's a good visualization, what's a bad visualization. We needed to know that before we started going off and creating our own. So just being able to look at the various visualizations I see in everyday life, I have a much better idea of, is this data really being presented accurately and honestly, or is it not?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's another benefit of the class is that it gives you that
Yep, and all the
ability to do that.
students, were able to learn that, and I think they all got a lot out of it.
I feel like your class, this statistics, there I go again, this statistics class
Got it.
has grown over the years. I think there must be
Oh.
some word of mouth going on.
Yes, there's definitely word of mouth, and we're also we're actively promoting it to advisors, because we're not really a class for math majors, although I have a math major from time to time. We're really a class for general UNO students who are not STEM, who aren't in the engineering, electronic fields, but really do need the quantitative reasoning, the thinking, to be helpful in everything that they study and do beyond UNO also. And one of the things we really try to highlight is skill building and giving things for the resume. Because sometimes during the class we would stop and talk about, now you can say you can do analysis using Excel, and now you can do like analysis using Tableau. And it puts you that much higher above another candidate when you're
Employers
interviewing for that
go,
first job.
Tableau, I recognize that. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. That's all right. My congratulations. Anything else you'd like to tell us about the whole experience?
Just that it's one of my favorite classes that I teach, and I just really enjoyed listening, to you speak about it, going, oh my gosh, you remembered like all the little things that we worked on. It's like, it's really important that you don't mislead. You can't do misleading data visualizations. And just really making sure that you can justify the analysis that you're doing. It's just not pretty pictures and colors. It's good analysis.
So it's
Professor Brusky is so passionate, and she was such an amazing professor. She cares so much about her students, and she's perfect for this kind of class with students that are apprehensive about math, because she's so good at meeting everybody at their level and helping people to feel comfortable. So yeah, that's part of the reason why I love
I had Professor Brusky. Let me tell you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Here we are going to have a little sob fest, I'm
Yes,
afraid.
we
You have to be careful.
I know.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. We do
Now I
have the tissues.
understand.
Okay. All right. I think at this point, I think we've got just a little bit of time, and I can talk a little bit more about service learning, and they do so many different things with so many different organizations and classes and that sort of thing. Lots of times it will be a community group, and then it will be a class, and then there will be high school kids or elementary school kids. And so when we worked with service learning year after year after year with a program called Running and Winning, and this is how after the fact, that's when we met, and you did some data visualization for us. But the way that worked was we brought in students. They were all female students from usually 4 different high schools in Omaha. It would be a one-day event, and it would be, it was called Running and Winning, and that's because we wanted these young women to think about running for office one of these days. And so the part that service learning played in that, well, yeah, there was actually some help with providing food, because it was held at UNO, and it was actually held at the Thompson Center. Not the Thompson, yeah, is that what it's called? The Alumni Center, yeah. And so we would hold it there, and so we really liked, having this beautiful space for these young women to be spending a day in, and they got to meet women who have held elective office, who either currently were holding elective office or have held elective office. And then we had these small groups, usually about 4 girls to a group, and then we had I think it was about 6 or 7 minutes of each elected woman would spend time with a group being interviewed, and then we'd not blow the whistle, but we'd let them know it's time to move on to another group. And so each elected woman would have I think there was enough time for her to be with maybe 4 different groups. And those women over and over told us how much they really enjoyed meeting the students, and vice versa. It was so great for the students to see to get to know these women and to find out they're not, what is this word about politicians? They weren't like politicians, they were like women like their moms or their grandmas or whatever. So it was a really inspiring thing. And after that, then we would have lunch, and then it would be actually a working lunch, because then they had to put together a campaign. And so they each had a position. There was one of the students was going to be the candidate, and then one of them, and she had to give a speech at the end. Just like a 1.5 minute speech, and then there was a speech writer, and then there was I can't remember what we called her, but she was the one who kind of organized the visual. So there would be a poster and then somebody had to come up with a slogan. So they put all that together, and then at the end they would be up there. There would be 3 or 4 of them holding the poster with the slogan and all that good stuff, and then the candidate would give her speech. So it was, and they loved it. They just loved it. And then all those evaluations are what Becky's class worked on, you know, the time before we did it with the voter guide thing. And so it was great to see what their responses, how to organize that. So, yeah.
And as far as UNO is concerned about that, it was so cool that you first partnered with the Service Learning Academy, and you talked with like a speech class.
That was a speech class we worked with, right.
And then collected data at the end, and then a second UNO class analyzed the data. And I know one of the impetuses for that was it was right after COVID that you wanted to jumpstart running and winning again. And so this gave you like the feedback of this is what the girls said after it.
Yes.
So you could make the next round of it even better.
Yeah, that's right. And so we haven't actually gotten it going yet, but we are still hoping to. We've got it, we can start talking about it anytime. Yeah. Well, if folks want to know more about how to be involved, where would you tell them to go for information?
I would tell them to really Google University of Nebraska Omaha Service Learning Academy, and it just shows all the amazing projects. And if you are a community partner, potential community partner out there, to contact the Service Learning Academy. It's not just analytics, although I'd love to, you know, promote that, but it's speech and it's history and it's engineering and medicine, all kinds of things that we can help the community with at UNO.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anastasia Nicholson and Professor Becky Brusky. Really, really appreciate you both being here and talking about service learning and about your class, your statistics class. It is really a challenge. For the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Linda Duckworth, reminding you to inform yourself about issues and candidates and be ready to go vote Omaha.